In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago.
I was in 8th grade, and I was in Mr. Johnson's history class.
I was in 10th grade in school. It was during the day. I was sophomore president of my class, and we were having an extra class meeting. So everybody in 10th grade, I was standing in front when we got the news.
I was about 2 weeks short of my 10th birthday, and I was watching Our Miss Brooks on television, which was a show about teachers at school, at a high school.
I do remember I was 8, so whatever grade that puts me in.
Probably about 6 years old, so in 1st grade.
Graduated from graduate school, and the year I got my first teaching job.
I was 9 years old. I was in 3rd grade. I was in Miss Farley's 3rd grade class, and we were at recess.
It was during the school day. I was in 8th grade.
I remember walking into the house, and my parents were already home, and they were watching TV. We had one of those big black and white TV sets, and the news was on. And my mother was crying, and I remember I started crying. And I think I started crying not so much because I really understood what was happening, but because my mother was crying.
I remember my father's reaction. I never saw my father cry. I remember seeing him cry. Now, remember, I'm not quite 10 years old, so the enormity of the situation took a while to get to me.
I remember the nuns were crying and we got sent home early and I didn't understand why. And then got home and my mother was crying and didn't understand why.
My mother was sobbing, which I had never seen my mother cry. So I was very confused, and she explained that the president had been shot.
The strangest thing was watching the adults, because they were really messed up. They were really confused. I mean, we were 13 years old, we were confused too, but adults were much more confused because this was the kind of thing that wasn't supposed to happen. But to see my father and my grandmother, my stepmother, as upset as they were, was a little bit baffling.
It was like losing a family member. It was losing, in my house, it was Martin Luther King and JFK. They were the heroes. Okay, they were the heroes of one's life because of civil rights, because of racism. They were the people that you looked toward.
It was a personal event. It was like we had lost a friend, a family member, someone we had great hopes for.
I grew up in Buffalo, New York, which at that time religiously was a predominantly Catholic city, and the fact that Kennedy was the first Catholic president was a big deal.
For the weekend, we just watched this unfold on television with a couple of great television anchors running them, wearing themselves out, trying to keep up with events and to explain events.
The fact that the television played all day, every day, was really changed the whole atmosphere of the house. I remember watching Lee Harvey Oswald get shot live. We were watching TV, and it happened right in front of us that Jack Ruby shot him when they were transferring him from one facility to another one.
I think we were in that house in front of that TV for days, just watching the events occur.
For the nuns and for my parents and for everybody, it felt like that was something that was happening to us.
And I think we all had sort of strange reactions because we didn't know what this meant.
It was a catastrophe at the time, but when you're in high school, you have a different perspective on life, and so understanding the full impact of that, I think, took a while.
I remember standing at the toaster and all of a sudden breaking into tears and not really understanding why I was breaking into tears, but crying, definitely crying. And then breaking into tears again when John saluted his father at the funeral procession.
A slight fear that it was going to be different, or the past experience of racism and overt violence, where they were going to come to the surface now that he was out of the way, now that he was shot. There was some fear of that and some talk of that.
It started saying that now the Russians were going to come get us. They were going to come bomb us because we didn't have a president. So it really turned for me from, oh my God, my mother's so upset, kind of in my 8-year-old mind, and not quite understanding it, to I'm not safe.
The legacy of violence is just continues to be with us. I think that's one of the most notable things, that it doesn't end there.
That time, it was just very clear that everybody around us was very somber, very sad, very confused, and it was something that sticks with you.
I think people lost faith, that black people lost faith in the larger system. I think people thought about a conspiracy. Black people thought it was a conspiracy of getting rid of those white liberal leaders who are helping black people get civil rights, get rights, be equal.
And the assassination certainly created a political perspective that remains today.
It was really the very beginning of the civil rights movement. So I guess President Kennedy, whether he accomplished a lot in this area or not, just meant a lot to us, because he was the symbol of activism, the symbol of making politics the center of your life.
The one thing is just always remembering that day. For younger people, they have the Challenger disaster in 1986 as their kind of moment. All of us have September 11, 2001 as yet another moment, and I gotta say, I don't really need any more.
The strength of our country is that we keep going.